Hello everyone. Today I'm going to present DinMo's identity resolution module. So, what is this module used for? Well, there are several cases. The first one is when, within the same table, you want to remove duplicates. For example, you might have several rows for the same person because they signed up with two different emails. That's really the first use case. The second use case is basically the same thing, but across two different tables. For instance, I might have someone who buys in-store, always using their first and last name, and the same person who buys online but only ever gives me their email and never their name. That's a second use case. In this case, I'll be able to merge these two tables together and enrich a master table with the information I managed to collect online and the information I collected offline. And the last use case I might want is assigning people to the same entity. In B2B, for example, I might want to know that everyone who has dinmo.com in their email address belongs to the company DinMo. And then I can really assign different employees to the same company, or even, for example, different customers to the same family, and so on. When I create an identity resolution project, the first thing I need to do is define the source, where my data is located, and which models I want to merge together. If I want to deduplicate my data within the same model, I just select one. Otherwise, I can choose, say, my offline customers and my overall customer database, which includes both online and offline. At that point, I can choose the identifiers that will be used for deduplication or assignment. I can also choose a custom identifier if it's not already in the list. In B2B, for example, I could add the company registration number. Otherwise, here I'll choose email. It's important to say that if two emails are exactly the same, then it's the same person, whether it's across two tables or within the same table. The same logic applies to first name, last name, phone number, date of birth, and so on. So I can choose as many pieces of information as I like. I can also add standardizations on each column. Should it be numeric only? Should it be case sensitive? Things like that. But either way, DinMo will always trim spaces. And I can also define a conflict limit, meaning the maximum number of people I want to assign to the same record. Behind it, I need to make DinMo understand that in this table and that table, it directly gives me the models I've selected, which field corresponds to the email, which field corresponds to the first name, etc. So here it's a bit of setup. But then I say, in my global customer table, it's called email. And in my offline table, it's also called email. For last name, same thing. It will be called last name on both sides. And that obviously depends on your data. I go through this for all the fields I included so that DinMo knows exactly where to look for the information. For example, birthday and birth date. Same thing here. And if I realize I forgot something, like the city, I can add it, search for the city field, and map it between the models. The idea after that is to create rules. For example, if a person has the same email in both tables, then it's the same person. I set it up like that. If the person has the same email, then it's necessarily the same person. And I can add as many rules as I want. For instance, if the last name, first name, and date of birth are the same, then it's the same person. Of course, there's always the risk. For example, there might be more than one Antoine Dupont with the same birthday. It's a risk you can choose to accept or not. But those are the kinds of criteria you can set. The same could apply to last name, first name, and city. Or with a phone number. If it's the same person. And you might want to add the last name along with the phone number in case someone has changed their number between the first time and the second time they gave it to you. Basically, you add as many rules as you want, depending on the level of confidence you need. Typically, an email is unique to a person and won't be reassigned to someone else. A phone number, though, might be recycled, so it's a bit less reliable. Then I give my prediction a name and choose how it will be refreshed. I can do a one-off deduplication if I just need a golden record today and not after that. Or, as we usually recommend, I can set it to run at an interval, generally every day. And depending on when your data warehouse is refreshed, you can set it to run. For example, every day at 6 in the morning. At that point, from my offline and online customer tables, I can merge them into a single table with one row per person I've identified, either because they had the same email or the same first and last name plus date of birth, for instance. While it's running, you can see the process in the Run tab, where you also have a reminder of the rules. But what's really interesting is the audit. At the end of the run, DinMo will generate different tables that you can use, and the one that really matters is the golden record table, which has exactly one row per unique person we identified. And for audit purposes, you'll also get a breakdown of which rules allowed the matches, so you know how the records were assigned together. That information is available in the output tables and directly on the platform.